Greetings, men and women. Welcome back to Disenthrall. I am Patrick Smith, as always. Today I have a special guest in a very intense situation. Welcome to the show, Alan Eccles.
Thank you very much, Patrick, for having me. Appreciate you.
You must be exhausted, and I bet it's not going to get any easy for you, as all this hits the media the next couple days. So I appreciate you taking the time for this show. Alan is a family friend of Jess Younger, who is the father of the boy that was recent. And you can clarify this. Tell me if I get anything wrong. Accuracy is so important to me. But as far as I'm aware, a jury literally in Texas, just approved, or I guess just took this father's rights to protect his son. And gave the ability to the son's mother to put him through gender transition medication and therapy. Is that true?
I'm in stun. I'm shocked also, Patrick. That is very true. If you'd like, I'll jump right into it because, man, this is close to my heart.
I'm going to attempt to not be completely speechless and incredulous and angry throughout this show. So yes, please, if you would kind of start at the beginning, like how you found out about this, and just kind of tell us what the hell is happening here.
Anyone that's listening out there, I pray that you listen hard to this, because this is not just in Texas. Our research has found around a year ago, I follow the Patriot Political Prisoner movement. I support them. I was an admin on the Patriot Mail Project when Lavoy Finicum got murdered for teaching the Constitution up in Oregon, standing up for people he didn't even know, standing up for their rights when the federal government was trying to run them off of their land that they owned. They purchased their grazing and water rights on adjacent land, and they were being treated harshly. And because of this, I followed several blog radio programs, and one of them, a man who was at the Mulhauer Wildlife Refuge up in Oregon with the Bundy brothers and Lavoy Finicum, he put on a program, and I almost laughed. I could not believe that in the great state of Texas that a mother was being allowed by the family court system to transition her son into being a transgender. Everybody is saying that she's trying to turn him into a girl. That is physically impossible. But what she's going to do and attempting to do is transition him into a girl. And because I believed that when I first heard it, I thought it was a scam, a money-making scam, run out of a smoky room in some backwoods area just to try to con people out of donations. And I just, made a comment on Facebook. I'm having a hard time believing it. Said, I'm having a hard time with it too, Alan. And so we formed a private chat group. There's 6 or 8 of us, and we scoured the internet. We looked everywhere. Followed, still out there. You type a Facebook search for Save James, and you'll find all kinds of details about this trial and updates on everything that's gone on for the past year on this. Well, it came to a head that Jeff, during all of this time that I knew him, he had been under severe court restrictions. He was a joint conservator of James and his twin brother Jude. Yes, there are 2 boys involved. Well, James is the only one that she wants to transition into a transsexual. She does not want to do this with with the other boy, Jude, even though he is undergoing tremendous pressure from having his brother being forced to lie about being a girl. And so we started contacting the people who put this Facebook page together, and eventually I was able to contact Jeff Younger himself, the father. And we've had some very good conversations. Several months ago, I was able to invite him to my hometown here in Cisco, Texas, and he spoke with our local Tea Party group, a group of about 30 people, and it was supposed to be an hour-long talk. They flat would not let him leave. They kept us there over 3 hours. I was dozing off, and they got behind this horrendous thing that is taking place. So since Jeff was not allowed to use male pronouns in public with James, he could not introduce his James as his son. He could not say, "Yes, that's my boy over there playing in the park." No, he could not do that. He was not allowed to do that under penalty of being put in jail. Jeff could not take his son to get a haircut without first going to the court, having to pay court costs, and present a description of the hairstyle and get court approval under penalty of being put in jail. He could not go to his son's kindergarten or first grade school and let anyone know that James was a boy, because, now get this, the mother had came up with a fake name of Luna and sends this child to school wearing a dress, and all of the teachers are complicit with this. They all call James, they call him Luna with female pronouns, and Luna goes to the little girls' bathroom with all the other little girls in school, and the other little girls and the other little girls' parents are not aware of this fact. I consider that atrocious. I just cannot imagine that something like this is allowed in the great state of Texas.
I mean, I'm sitting here just trying to think of what words I could possibly say. I am born and raised Texan, and I really most of the time have try and be blindly loyal to governments and geographical areas, but when you're born and raised here, you are given at least you're given this pride in the state. And whether or not that I got added to a Facebook group. I don't know if it's the one that you're talking about, to kind of follow this story, and I want to thank Andre for letting me know about this. I got added to this Facebook chat, and I just kind of got briefed on what was happening. I think I saw where Andre added you last night. I was doing some fast and furious. I don't know what you call lobbying. I've been on the phone till 2:00 in the morning with people. We're putting together. We're getting ready for battle, and yes, that is the original chat group that I put together over almost a year ago to prove that this was a hoax, and it has turned into our command center for supporting Jeff. That is the original group. I'm glad you're in it. And so I heard the brief version of the story, and I'm like, well, thank God it's in Texas, because there's no way they can put together a jury of 12 people from this state that would let this fly anywhere near a 7-year-old boy.
Well, let me tell you something else about that. Very fascinating. You see, Jeff was getting tired of the fact that even though he was a joint conservator, which that term means that someone else is giving the legal authority to make medical and other life decisions for another person. In the case of a conservator over a child, that means that you can make the medical decisions. Well, Jeff was granted during the original hearing joint conservatorship with Ann Georgilus, the boy's claim to be mother. I'll get into that here in a little bit. But he was given joint conservatorship, but she was giving executive authority over Jeff. So she had to tell him all of her decisions, but he could say nothing about it. That was a crock right there. Well, anyway, Jeff is getting desperate now that his son is being harmed, and he cannot do anything about it. He can't teach him his own personal religious values. Jeff is an Orthodox Christian, worships every day. He's a fine, upstanding man, and he wants to teach his son the biblical principles of sexualism and male and female roles and in the church and how they are supportive of each other. He's not allowed to do that. This court order has infringed upon his parental rights, so Jeff wanted to. He in a desperate attempt, because this has been going on through from the age of 3 until the boys are 7 now. At the age of 8 years old, and I don't know how they pulled that number out of a hat. If it is pursued, then the mother can line up James to begin giving him puberty blockers. This puberty blocker creates a situation called chemical castration. That's what they do to sexual serial rapists and pedophiles in prison, is they give them puberty blockers. It's a chemical castration. And at the age of 8 years old, they're allowed to do that. And so Jeff is getting desperate, so he files a lawsuit to get in the quest, in the hope, in the prayer of being named sole conservator, which would give him the final say on medical decisions. And in the state of Texas is the only state in the country that allows that to be determined by a jury. Every other state, that is only determined by a judge. And since this judge had already limited Jeff's parental rights through all these horrendous restrictions of not being able to call him a boy, not being able to attend his school unless he acknowledges that his boy is a girl, which is against his moral and religious beliefs and fact. So he's attempting to do this to this jury. I sat through this jury trial. I heard everything that jury heard. I'm just stunned that 11 of these 12 jurors decided that Jeff could not be the sole conservator.
That was my next question. This just happened like yesterday, right? And today. I wanted to find out what the result was.
That was determined on Monday, yesterday.
So you're telling me that 11 Texans, or at least people that are from this area, voted to what exactly was the case at? Like, were they voting to change parental rights to him, like remove parental rights from the mother that wanted to transition him? Is that what the jury was deciding?
Yes, it does not negate parental rights. It just delegates which one has the final say on social and medical situations. It would have given Jeff the ability to look his little boy in the eye and say, do you want to wear a dress to school today, or do you want to wear blue jeans and have them call you James, your legal name? And James would have been able to say whatever he wanted to say then, and Jeff would have supported him in that, and in whatever James wants to do. Jeff loves his children, so that's what that was what it was determined, was that Jeff will not have that ability to do that and to determine. During this whole time, Jeff has offered. He said, out of my own pocket, let me pay for a second opinion. Ann takes this little boy to these rainbow psycho shrink people, psychologists. They managed to get a C or something in some kind of psychology class, so they're now called professionals. And they're all for this, transgender, transfluidity and idiocracy and yeah, you could be the gender of a cat or whatever you want to be. There's so many genders, it's just, it's a grab bag out there, and you can change genders anytime you want to. It doesn't matter. Well, Ann's takes the boy to a psychologist like that. Jeff was offered to pay for another opinion and was told that if he did that, he would go to jail. Well, he was wanting that ability. He's wanting the ability to seek out another professional opinion. Help him in this effort to find out, if James is, has a bisexual attitude about him or whatever.
Which I don't believe he does. At 7. No one has that at 7. No one even my son is 6, and he doesn't even have the conception of gender in his head. He's just himself. That's it. This is insanity. I'm sorry. This is, I can't.
Let it out.
This
dude.
is Dallas.
Let it out. Yell it at the top of your lungs. You were telling the truth.
This is Dallas, Texas.
Dallas, Texas. Yes.
This is where I live. This is happening up the street from me. I can't understand. Like, I would have expected somebody to tell this story out of California and be like, oh yeah, we know, that's why I don't live there. This is insane. Yeah, and does this woman plan on actually proceeding with the actual medications to transition the gender? Because there are some permanent, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, permanent sterility. He will never be able to have children. This decision being made for him at what I don't know. Do you know what the plan is? Does she plan to proceed with this? I mean, I guess that is what she originally said. Now during trial, she's going, well, I don't know. She developed that attitude. She did not want it to be brought up that is what she wants to do. We have no reason to believe that she will not pursue that. The only way these ideas get into a 7-year-old brain is if the parent puts them there. That's the only way this stuff gets into these kids' brains. You don't arrive on planet Earth wondering about your gender. That's just not that's not how it works. No one does that. I laugh because I don't have words. I don't have words. I know. I mean, I don't want to. If this were me, I would get in trouble for saying what I would be willing to do to prevent this from happening to my children. And I admire
that's not good to say those things out loud in public anymore. But believe me, just hearing your passion on what you said already, I know you would be doing the same thing I'd be doing, and nobody's ruling anything out at this time.
So,
in order to inform your audience a little bit more about family court, this is important to know. In this particular trial, in this particular case, the jury was to determine. They were going to be asked 2 questions or 3 questions if one of them was affirmative. It would be, should there be a sole conservator for James? If not, or if so, who should that be? And if not, who else should that be? So it could, at that point in time, the jury could have decided that this boy needs to be put in foster care. They're both nuts. Well, they didn't do that, thank goodness, because foster care and the CPS child abduction, child trafficking ring didn't get their hands on them at this point. So that was what the jury was to decide. And the judge still decides amount of possession of each child, time-wise, and child support payments. So the judge was still going to have those two things in her that she would decide, and the jury would decide if there should be a sole conservator or dual joint conservatorship.
Okay.
And I'm believing that the way that this is reading, it's still not real clear. We won't know until tomorrow morning. I believe the judge's rulings will be read at 11:30 tomorrow morning. I believe that it's going to go back to about the way it was, a joint conservatorship with Ann Georgilis having the executive authority over Jeff on conservatorship, plus the humiliating requirement that Jeff attends transgender education classes for parents.
Oh, this has gone too far. Like, I think for the past 6 years, society in general has just been sort of tolerating the weird people that are different, that feel different, that want to act and behave and have you call them special pronouns. Like, if you're an adult and you're into that stuff, like, you do what you want to do with your life and body and property. And if you got friends that you can convince to call you, ma'am instead of sir, fine. Like, that's your life. I think most of people give other people space, and that's good. That's what we should do.
And that's exactly what we've said all along on the Save James page and the SaveJames.com is, this is not an attack on a transgender lifestyle. This is not an attack on the LGBTQAS, kiss my whatever gender you want to be if you're an adult. This is not an attack on them. They have pushed it too far this time in that they have come over on this side and they're trying to steal your children. That is where the line in the sand has been drawn, and I can honestly say that that this might be a blessing. Yeah, let that sink in a minute. Because have Jeff won this case? Yeah, that would have saved James. It sure would have. But it would have left thousands of other children at risk. These clinics that do this are popping up in every state of the union. Taxpayer-funded gender reassignment clinics are popping up in every state of the union. And the moral outrage that people are getting because of people like you, Patrick, putting it out there in the public, letting people know. People did not even know that this was going on. That's why we got to shout it from the rooftops. You're letting people know, and people are getting outraged enough to take steps. They are actually, I'm putting out every post I put out there. I said, it's your fault unless you write your state representative and you tell them that you demand that they prohibit gender reassignment medical procedures being performed on underage children who have not yet gone through puberty and reached the age of consent. You need to write them letters and let them know that you're going to be watching their voting record. Let them know that their next election depends on that. If they want that position, they best do something about it. So this might be a blessing in that this might, today, a young boy somewhere in this country turned 8 years old and gets his first shot of testicle poison.
Oh,
some little girl has been convinced by a trusted adult that, oh, you must be a boy in a little girl's body. Let's cut off your titties. These people are doing this. These sadists are doing this. They're convincing these impressionable children that they were born in the wrong body. That is perverted. That is child abuse.
Well, two things. Number one, if the government thinks that it has the right to do these, to allow or to enable parents to do this stuff to their children, that invalidates the government's any notion that the government has rightful just authority in that area. If this is the decisions they're going to make, you cannot make the case that that is a valid court or a valid judge or a valid justice process. They have invalidated themselves with this.
Let me say one other thing on that point too, sir. And this is where me and a lot of folks, take a different fork in the road. You see, that kind of thing should not be relegated to a government entity. It really shouldn't. But what should not be prohibited is the retaliation against such a thing. I would think that a man, it would be justifiable homicide if he was to protect his child to any degree. And
that's kind of what I was getting at earlier. That's kind of what I was getting at earlier. I restrain a lot of the activism that I do because I have children and a family, and I have to maintain a safe environment for them. So the more risky forms of activism are off the table. But you mess with my kids, I've got nothing else restraining me. And this, I don't want to go any farther than that. The second thing I wanted to say. Right. The second thing I wanted to say.
Well, this family court thing has gone out of hand, gone way too far. You see, and I didn't even know a lot of things that Jeff has told me. He's gone through this for so many years now that he's watched all of these men that line up. Every 6 months, there's a 6-month cycle that all of these men make it to court, and they're behind on their child support payments. Now, it's not because these men don't love their children. Now, some of them, are deadbeat dads. Okay, there's some bad in everything, but a large portion of these are just men that have been pushed beyond the physical ability to provide any kind of life at all for themselves and pay the horrendous amounts of child support payments that are demanded on them, so they get put in prison for 6 months. Well, while they're in prison for 6 months, these payments still accrue. They go up. They never stop. They never go down. They get out. Then all of a sudden their child support payments have been increased again. They'll get out and struggle and work their butts off, living in flop houses or in their car, just trying to struggle to make a child support payment. They never get to see their kids. They're rounded up, few months later, put right back in the hole. A massive percentage of our prison population is because of men that cannot afford. It's not that they can't pay, not that they choose to not pay it, but cannot afford to pay their child support payments. There's something else about the child support payments. Why are they as high as they are? Yeah. This is the thing that nobody knows. The Judge Retirement Fund gets matching funds from some government entity for their retirement fund is funded by the amount of child support payments that they assess to divorced fathers. Yeah, put that in the pipe and smoke it.
Yeah, no, I've been a victim of the child support circus, so I feel you. I feel you. So the last point I want to make before I ask you to tell us what, if anything, people can do to help out here is just to make the point that this has only gotten so far because people have tried to be sort of rightfully tolerant of, dude, there are men that sit down to pee. I find that really freaking weird, but I'm not going to do shows about it telling people whether they should stand up or sit down to pee, because it's not my business and they're not hurting anybody. Same thing with the transgender stuff. Like, if you're not hurting anybody, if it's only affecting your own life, I'm not doing a show saying that I think like changing the English language and disrupting how we communicate is terrible and is a bad thing. I think I was wrong in not taking time out of my day to point out the inconsistencies, the contradictions, and how that stuff should not be okay. Not the lifestyle, not adults doing what they want with their own body. That is still their own deal and their own problem, and I don't care. But just the idea of the ability to turn to change definitions of words, to turn right and wrong upside down, has allowed it to get to the point where people are making excuses to where you're able to convince 11 Texans to let somebody do this to a little kid. It's too far. It's too much. It's time to start saying something. So I want more people to start saying something. Do what you want with your own body, grown up. Sit down to pee if you want. Fine. Don't care. But don't tell me that you're standing up when you're sitting down to pee. How's that for a headline? Like, don't gaslight me. Don't lie to me. Don't tell me that don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. We know what truth is. We know what facts is. We know what right and wrong and up and down is. And if you want to live your life like up is down, do your thing, man. Keep it away from the children. This kid's 7. That was okay. So that was my point that I just wanted to make before I kind of pitch it back to you. Please tell people if there's anything they can do, what can they do to help?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I would like to say that during this trial, there were 2 expert witnesses that Jeff Younger and his lawyer, and these expert witnesses, they cost a lot of money. That's why Jeff could only afford 3. Ann could afford 28 because she's being counseled by the Genesis Gender Reassignment Clinic. I'm sure that they stand to make millions of dollars at the result of this last ruling. Anyway, these 2 expert witnesses that Jeff brought in, they pointed out the fact that well over 90% of gender-confused children. Now, when I say gender-confused children, I'm only talking about maybe 1% to 4% because of our educational system now that are gender-confused from the whole population. That'd be 1%. Well, 90% of them, if allowed to go through puberty without adult shoving in some direction, they settle on a degree by the time they go through puberty. Oh yeah, I'm a boy, and that gal over there is pretty cute. Let me go and see if she'll go and have a cherry Coke with me. They settle into, they get through the awkward stage in their life, and they settle into their biological sex. And so we need to find some way to convince our state legislators to prohibit this negative counseling of these quacks that make money off of convincing children that they're born in the wrong body. It's a money generating industry. It generates tens of thousands of dollars. Jeff will be forced to pay for the chemical castration of his son, and that's going to be a pretty expensive process.
I'd go to jail. I'd go down shooting before I paid for that. That's Patrick Smith speaking. Please don't relate my words to anything to do with this case. To anything to do with this case. And Jess is probably real smart for not doing any of the media appearances himself. He needs to stay out of this. So, Alan, I really appreciate you taking time out of your day as a family friend to like I said, I know you're tired, and you're probably going to get a lot more tired because it looks like this is blowing up on Twitter. It looks like it's it's about to go viral. So you're probably
There's a hashtag on Twitter, Protect James Younger. This thing has gone ultra viral already. It's probably, since the time that we started talking, it's probably reached 100,000, whatever it is twits do on Twitter. I don't do Twitter, but I've been informed of that, and this is going viral. People are starting to realize that these clinics are in every state. I'm encouraging everyone to write a letter to your state representative. Dear sir, I demand, I implore, I urge, you better write, sponsor, support legislation to prevent medical gender reassignment procedures being done on children. Just do that, people. Just write that one letter. I tell you what, 1 50-cent letter is more powerful than 1 million Facebook comments.
So SaveJames.com is a website where you can find a donation link as well, if you're so inclined. I've got the website pulled up here. So there's a donation link top right. Is this the correct website, right? SaveJames.com. Donation link has a Give, Send, Go donation thing. So I'll make sure that link's in the description.
There are two avenues. The SaveJames.com. It has the donation link and such as that, and gives an overall picture, a snapshot of what is happening, and then a Facebook search for the page Save James. That is the updates on what is happening every day. Things are being added to that daily. The SaveJames.com gives you the overview, and if you are so inclined to help, and this is a very costly, expensive process that Jeff is going through to save his son, that information is on SaveJames.com. Save James Facebook page is your updated information.
All right, Mr. Eccles, thank you again for taking the time out of your evening to speak with us. And like I said, I'm in that Facebook group chat, and I look forward to seeing the updates, and I'll definitely be following this story. So thanks again, sir. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Good night, y'all.
Good night. And you guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for hopping on here last minute. Just as a quick notification, it looks like the Disenthrall Facebook page has been officially censored. Limits have been placed on the page, and Facebook has told me that they're not going to show any Disenthrall content on Facebook in anyone's news feeds. So that is happening. That is part of our existence now. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. And Frontal, I appreciate your $2. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And I'll talk to you guys later.